Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 448th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in these weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. And once again, we are lucky to have Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation to be here to present today's teaching and latest news from the world of plasma technology. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin today?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, 448 sessions of, and hopefully we'll make it a little bit longer, maybe a few more years. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for being part of this development. We had some wonderful trials and tribulations in the past few days. And before we start, as last time we announced the passing of one of our beloved teachers, many of you don't know, but we lost one of the biggest supporters of the Keshe Foundation this week. Our hearing of his passing brought me a lot of pain. He supported the Keshe Foundation in a hidden way. He believed in the peace message of the technology, and in many of the teachings, a few times I always praise his work. 4 or 5 years ago, he invited me personally to Rome to a private conference he was giving, and I went with a couple of knowledge seekers to the conference to meet him. On arriving, he sent a private message through his secretary at the conference. Due to illness, he could not take up the conference, and he apologized to me. In his way, I told the knowledge seekers who were with me that it was a sad occasion, but it was an occasion we met with CIA and exchanging some information because they knew I'll be there. He understood the message of peace. He is a man who walked away from conflict. He saw presidential position not worth if one person being killed. He always, in his messages and the support of the Keshe Foundation, in a very direct way, carried the change has to come through peace and knowledge. He brought to many of us today what we see in Ukraine as a result of. He brought to millions the freedom of the Eastern Europe. What you call yourself Romanian, Bulgarians, Ukrainian, Armenian, and the rest is through his wisdom. He was the true man of peace. He was the emblem of power has no meaning if one loses his life. He tried everything for his nation, but the elements of the work outside was much bigger than him could hold. In calling the Western world to help with Chernobyl, brought his demise. The Russians saw him as that the Russians had to do it themselves, but he knew he does not have the knowledge, technology, and the backing and the mayhem, which was in 1986, which hit most of Western Europe. If Keshe Foundation looks for a president who lives by the word of the peace, by the man who put everything ahead of himself, we need to look. We have to look the life of the Russian president. In many times, in many occasions, I have praised his work. The way he walked away from one of the most powerful seats on this planet, the point of accepting and negotiating with the Americans to disarm the nuclear weapon technology. Gorbachev was the true man of peace. He negotiated from a point of strength, and he negotiated to see the change in position. My condolences goes to his family. I worked with some of them in a very close quarters in the past, and to the nation of Russia. I'm sure his soul has found his place, and passing at the age of 91 this week, he brought the change on every one of us living on this planet today. No man has ever, his actions affected the humanity in the 20th century than him. Not even Hitler. He was one of the most gentle, peaceful men, and he was the true man of peace. If it was anybody else but him, we would have seen bloodshed across Western Europe and Eastern Europe during the life of what we call the Russian president, His Excellency President Obama. Maybe the present world leaders learn from him. Maybe the present Russian head of state and American head of state learn from his lifestyle. That no power involved worth more than one life to be lost. And he stepped down as a Russian president with a lot of grace within the structure of the soul of the humanity. I would like to ask for a minute of silence for respect and honor his life. Thank you very much. I hope a lot of you understand. One day humanity will realize what the actions of Gorbachev meant to a lot of us. And what is now the situation in Ukraine. If it was him, his time, he would have had to keep the 15 satellite countries and Russia together as one state, as USSR. The bloodshed we see in Ukraine today would have happened inside Russia during his time. As the West was pushing by choosing a fake Pope, John Paul, Polish, to put pressure on him to create a war situation to split the nation, he decided he split the nation without killing. What we see in Ukraine, he foresaw, but in 15 states. And he decided he'll walk away from it. And he did not let one single person to die because of his pride to be the president, to stay as the head of the most powerful nation on earth at the time. You got to realize the wisdom of this man and understand the true man. I had the pleasure to work during communist time with his regime and afterwards with Yeltsin. And whenever I paid a visit to Moscow, to my offices there or into Almaty, I always said, I wish we would have kept Gorbachev. He should have stayed through the time of transition for at least another 5 or 10 years and brought a proper change, a correct change, not the mayhem we saw. Many of you do not understand this, you haven't been there. I lived right through the separation of the USSR, worked in some of its states and understand. And especially in past few months, whenever I see the situation, the news from Ukraine always said, this is what Gorbachev walked away from. He did not want to see the bloodshed, destruction of a nation which he and his predecessors built. You've got to understand, every building, every success, every agricultural success you see in Ukraine today is because of the time of the USSR. It was a breadbasket of the Russians. And now it's become the breadbasket of the world. And he was not prepared to see not a single Ukrainian to die, as he called it always the Greater Russia. Now you understand how beautiful this man was. In many occasions we came across his work. I always said, the greatest man on earth ever is him. He literally lived a life of exile in his time. I followed him through, after the Russian, what we call division, at many occasions, worked in the background on different occasions with his path, with way of work. I worked with the Russian structure when he was in power in 1980s extensively with the Russian army. He wanted the best, and we gave him the best, what we could get from the West to have during the Russian time of his presidency. I saw how Yeltsin destroyed the nation, how he literally stole every piece. We had our offices near the White House in Moscow. And a few times I went there, I wish I would have, I've said many times, never seen this position. If humanity ever builds a statue of peace, a man who walks away from the most powerful seat, not an ordinary president, a nuclear power, a superpower, to become an ordinary man, not to see a bloodshed in this country. The true Nobel Prize peace is symbolic, but the true man of peace is real, which is Gorbachev. I hope the new generation one day will understand what he did and what we see today. How the West deviously planned by choosing a fake pope, a man of no integrity, as John Paul, to put pressure to Poland and Russia to bring the church, a faith which did not exist that much, to become to a point when he left the position as head of state. One day, humanity will know what the West did. And in all that, as we used to be cooperating and working during the communist time and after communist time, many times I discussed this with as a very young boy in my late mid-20s, I asked the Russian generals, where we had an office in Holland, why doesn't he do something? Why does he hold on? They said, we do not know. We're all going to be without jobs. And they became all without jobs. Most of the Russian generals under him lost their jobs because when he went, everything else went. But symbol of peace has to be the face of Gorbachev. And hopefully many of us, as knowledge seekers, give from our soul to him, as I know he has achieved what he set out. The biggest gift we can give is elevation of his soul. And I hope humanity will realize one of the biggest men of the race of the man has gone amongst us in the physical dimension. The teaching of today is very much interesting. As many of you know, we are working on the transportation and transmutation. And we were targeting to start the first transmutation sometime in September and onwards. And so we are coming into the testing of what we call the fine-tuning. It's not as everyone who goes into the system will be the same, reach the same, and do the same. We put people in the framework of what we call the flight zone for different testing, for different purposes, for understanding more in what we really want to do with the situation. And how and what we achieve from one to the other. If you remember, and you go back on the past teachings, I always, if you remember, if you've been with us, over 100 people now been through the process. There's somewhere between 100 and 150 people. And we need more. Do not stop coming in to add to the knowledge. NASA and other corporations choose and select. It's your soul who has to select you to be there to add to the knowledge of humanity for what is to come. It's not just I'm coming there to see something, what happened. I'm coming there to add to the knowledge. And every single one of you who came in has added to our knowledge. In a way, NASA failed last Monday in launching because of the little valve. We are launching humanity into deep space, into new dimensions. And we cannot fail because we have already failed as a human race for millions of years anyway. And many of you who have been in this room and went through the system in one way or another while you were in the system, or while you were around the system, have explained to us what happened to you. Did anything happen to you? At the beginning, you were all interested in chairs. What happened in chair 1, 2, 3? It became a musical chair. Who jumps to the next chair, to the next chair, to jump in there and see what comes up. Am I winning the prize? But in fact, in over past 3 months of testing, we got rid of these chairs. We haven't got rid of them. They're still there, but still we use them for confirmation of the work we didn't sit inside. Many of you who've been in the system, you were asked while you're in the system, if you want to go to the moon, if you want to go to see your family, your uncle, your cousin, your mother, you can do so. And people, as I said, sitting there, like sitting in the airport, waiting for the flight instruction, which gate to go to. And all the time, when we talk to people, when they're sitting in these seats, they hear us, they listen to us, and they say, yeah, can I go? They talk to you. But when they come out, we speak to them. They say, can you see us? They say, no, but we heard you and followed. They hear who comes in the room and goes. And in 10, 20%, the first time, they say no reaction, nothing happens to me. But after the second or the third time, the soul opens up because they want to control the physicality. I'm here, but I want to know what's happening. I want to remember everything. So the soul is not there. I'm still in charge. I increase the blood flow and I cage it tighter. The 20%, which now reduced to about 5%, is those who come in and they want to see what's happening. So in fact, the more blood is going to see the consciousness than unconsciousness, that stops them from the trip. So we realize that in the earlier stages, who is actually not going in there are the people who want to be in control, in charge. And they want to see the physicality. They don't trust the soul to be in charge. I want to see, I want to remember, I want to be there. And zoop, there is no way the soul is going to go. If it was shackled with one chain, now you're shackled with 4 chains. It's not going to go anywhere. You put a dog watch and 4 dogs on top of it. We come to the point that when we talk to most of the people, they listen. We ask them to go to the other unit. They move, they go to the other unit. All sorts of things move everywhere. But when we ask them, says when they give you the instruction. But in a very few cases, we ask them, did you see us? He says, no, we don't see you. We just hear the instruction, we follow. What happens in reality is that the soul of the man has grown to a position of engaging the physicality of the man. The way you dream, you say, and then you remember the dream because you heard the voice, you did what it says, your physicality of you, you took where you went, whatever. Now the physicality hears, but it's got the leg of the soul with it. So it acts, it moves the whole caboodle of the soul and the physicality with it to the next place. In a way, you're in a balloon, but your legs are on the floor, you walk it, but the balloon has engaged with the soul. This was important for us to know because in the point of the transmutation and the process of the next few weeks, we have been very open. We show people, in some cases, what has happened, what it is. The transmutation systems are already set up to transfer you from one to another. I take them in and said, this is the transmutation system, but we have to understand more. What we actually do with you is we poke you from the system into your soul. And then we transfer the energy across. For us, this effect of this balloon, this soul expansion, that you hear us, you act, you behave, was very important to conclude and to understand. And today, this week's testing on Tuesday, Wednesday, we targeted this. Target was to see what happens to the soul. It was me and them talking in the system. What we did this week, we ran a special test. Especially last test was that we got these 4 people into the system at the same time. 4 friends, 2 couples. And we maneuvered them, but kept 2 solid in position. We do not let 2 move, but we moved different positions in this latter part. And they were kept in the system for about an hour and a half together. Then what we did, we asked them to take a chair. Sit wherever they like. They sat. They start talking. I said, please do not talk very little, but just be together. Then, in a way to hold, like you hold the aircrafts in the air till they're ready to land. After a few minutes, 10 or 15 minutes sitting there, they chat a bit. I could hear them in the control room. They're chatting with each other. I asked them to move to different seat in a way to hold. I put one in the soul of physicality, one in the soul of man, and in that formation. In a way, I kept them in the fields of the room. And then we start what I call the extraction, to get them out and to understand one by one what is happening, and ask them when they were out, who they choose out of the 3 left and the 2 left to come out next. This was the reason we wanted to see what is happening. When they came out, we individually spoke with them when they came out, but if the first one was alone, the second one was with the first one sitting next to each other, and they all explained what they did, what happened, what failed, whatever. As I said, I'm not interested in your drinks, in your talks, or who you saw on the plane or whatever as a pilot. I'm interested, how did the jet perform? How was the performance of the aircraft in its flight time? In this process, we asked every single one of them, at the end of the discussion with each one, and there's 4 of them sitting together, did you see each other sitting in the center? Or did you feel each other? Or did you hear each other? Answer was clear. We did not see each other. The husband says, I could feel my wife, I hear my wife, but I knew it's her. So in the first time, a couple has met as a soul, but both be aware of their existence. What do you call a soulmate? The beauty with this is, this was the confirmation that the technology of the space travel is 100% correct. That we expand the soul of the man, and how man will see in the space. This was more or less the beauty, the crown, the jewel in the crown of the testing of past 3 or 4 months you've been with us. the beauty of how the two on this side behave in respect to two on this side. And concluding, confirming the beauty, the what I call absolute perfection in the whole structure, that we managed to carry four souls together. But not in the dimension of physicality. This is important for us, that what was interesting is that the environment of the flight room is what it's supposed to be. We have managed to create a flight system inside the room, not inside the system. Because when they walked out of the system, they should have lost that, what we call the strength of the field of the soul. And they should have seen each other. You're in an open room. When you go for a lunch or a dinner or a meeting or see your family, you see each other. You don't sit in a capsule. But this condition, this situation confirmed to the Keshe Foundation and our research team that for the first time we can completely confirm that we have managed to elevate the soul of the man, to free the soul of the man, that man feels the other, recognizes the other exactly the way you do in your dream, and he with it acts and listens and does. So the engagement of the physicality for us and to the whole structure of the testing is confirmed. This will have a lot of implication and application in the coming weeks and months for the Keshe Foundation. It means if we can do this in a satellite scale, anybody can move anywhere at any time as they wish, once we encircle the field energies of this planet. Freedom of one nation, openness into everything and understanding the technology of the creation. I need 10 volunteers today. Doesn't matter if you've been there or not. For a special test to come in. Go in the website and sign yourself in and put a special. We know the souls which will do this. Doesn't matter if you've been there before or not. This is another test the way we did with Rick some weeks ago. Go on the website now, any of you, and book in for the flight, a special flight test. It's a mobile test. And we'll show you what this means. We show you what is going to happen. The test yesterday, Tuesday, has brought us such an advancement in the technology that we should be able to bring transmutation, if everything understood completely, before Christmas. And in understanding this, we can bring a lot of changes. The speed from now on, the way we go, depends on the participation of the knowledge seekers around the world with us, not on daily basis, on hourly basis. It's now all of us who has to push this through, and the implication of this is huge. The application and completion of this phase within next week is paramount to the work of our flight system in the next few months. We call upon you and your soul to join us for the change. We want to increase this four in this room to 10 people to 20 people around the world within the next few days. And we want to complete this rapidly. Because after next week, a new system will be installed. And before we install that, we want to complete this process, maybe even by Friday, maybe even by Monday. We would like to be able to establish the first satellite souls which will behave like these systems for us in the structure. We want to not to bring you in, we want to structure the structure of the satellite through the soul. In a way, make a house out of this planet and see how we successfully do. In next week work of the Keshe Foundation is a final week before we go into flight mode. We call you 10 or 20 people to be present during the testing, which means we extend our system beyond what we call the boundaries of the flight system. You as your souls become that satellite system. You do not need to move. You will not be transmuted, but you start, we tell you what to do. And when you put in a special system, in a way you become part of the universal community. In a way you be connected to Universal Council. Because this is the extension as part of. Today we have Universal Council supporters who work as a supporter to Peter. Now we get Universal Council supporters by the soul. And this is important to me. It's important to the structure to see we can use the soul of the man who chosen to be as part of this system. Man launches satellites into space to spread the communication. The work of the universal community uses the soul, the energy of the fields of what we call the structures. Yesterday's test was an amazing achievement. It was amazing to understand it and to see it. When I told you, go back into the teaching. When you meet another creature from the universe, you don't see them, you feel it. Their colors, the information they give you in the level of the soul tells you if it's the wife or the friend. If am I food, or have I received the food I was thinking as a human? Am I in danger? Am I given knowledge? Am I given everything else I do not see? For the first time be proven, you call it the third eye. The third eye is the soul of the man. The working of the soul of the man. And would you be able to expand this in what we've seen yesterday and this week in the center? On Tuesday, the last test was again a couple, extremely beautiful couple from Austria. And it was amazing how this couple were connected. We asked them, where would you like to go? She said, I want to go to Barcelona. I said to the man, where do you want to go? She says, I want to go. I said, I want to go to New York. We let them loose in the two machines. I changed them from one to another. And as part of the same test, because it's part of the process, when they went whatever they wanted to do, still in the machines, I usually don't speak open to the room. I said to them, talk to each other while you're in the system and decide where both of you want to go. And I left the room. When they came out, I asked no more questions to understanding the expansion of the soul, and both explained what happened to them, what journey they took. And I asked them what happened when I told you you can talk to each other and decide where you want to go. She said, I wanted to go home. And I asked him to come home with me. And they both experienced to go home together. They both went to the house and they enjoyed the house. And it was very strange for them that they met in their home in the level of the soul. And they enjoyed it immensely, both of them. The important part of this test for us was even during the flight, we can talk to each other. We can send people together as we do with the aircrafts, now with the agreement of the soul. And strange enough, he didn't go with her to Barcelona, and strange enough, she didn't go with him to New York, because I asked them, we can travel together. I put them on the same system, back and the front, and I put them separately. The important thing for us was that the both couple were in the system at the time. In a way, if as a family you decide to go on a holiday to a destination, you all will go together and you all will enjoy it. And then if you totally decide as a family to manifest in the dimension of physicality, you will manifest in the dimension of physicality. The true universal space travel in the dimension of the soul has been established. It's not that it's going to be done. The pleasure the couple had on their face that they went home together because she decided and he agreed to go is an amazing experience and development in technology. The same with the 4 people who went through the system yesterday, that they could feel each other in the level of the soul, and they could be with each other in the level of the soul, but not see each other's physicality. And when I asked the couple on Tuesday, did you see each other? They said, no, it was so beautiful, it was so peaceful. The lady spoke of the headache because she could not get this around her head. Now, what we want to do is to get as many of you into become that satellite beam or point for all of you across this planet. The more we establish in next day or two, the better we should be able to connect. But be prepared to be available next Tuesday, Wednesday, between 10 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 in the morning till 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Central European time. We take 2 days of your life, but we expand, we test before we test for transmutation. In a way, you're on a test seat for 12 or 14 hours next week. Then we want to understand, we mark you on the map, and we want to understand who, in which way we can satellite in different directions and dimensions. You got to realize the progressive development today is what we collectively as a race will achieve. And collectively, what we do together in totality with each other. And we see how we collectively work. I just received a message for Keshe Foundation team, preparing this for next week. I'll read it to you, very simple. It says, we are at the system at UNO now to prepare the cables for new control that you become part. Our team, our development team, the research team are in UNO Center now installing these systems. Our development team has understood the concept of the technology and is amazing. One is knowledge seekers. Two is the knowledge seekers of the old time. And the rest are ordinary men from different corners of this planet. It's not us, it's all of us, irrespective of color, race, and religion, who's developing this. It is part of what we can support. Let me explain to you why we suddenly start pushing for this very rapidly. Read the news. By order of His Excellency, the Russian President, Mr. Putin, the northern line gas to Germany is fully cut off as of this week. It's like cutting a gas to your home in the winter and ask you to survive. No cooking gas, no electricity. You look at the bills which are received in the Western world by the homeowners and the businesses. Increase up to 5 to 7 times by Christmas. But this does not solve the problem if the cutoff comes to March next year. The tanks will be empty. The negotiation with Iran is pushing faster, trying to get as much gas out of Iran by bending in every direction, to the extent that for the first time, the President of the United States refuses to speak to the Israeli Prime Minister this week, trying to get the West out of the mess which is done. But one thing which I see, and I've explained, is that Iran is a close ally of Russia. You've got to understand, a fifth of the states of Russia to early last century was Iranian. That's why we have a close tie. Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. Stan, this means state of Iran, does not exist in the Russian language. Iran has close ties with Russia, culturally, blood-wise, and the rest, and Iran would not break the syndicate. Iran are good chess players, but what's going to bring is very simple. Shortage of power, energy in the West. As I explained to one of our dearest knowledge seekers yesterday while we were waiting for the tests, is a few years ago, we saw the spring uprising, which was planned by the British and carried out, and started with 20 Italians in North Africa. And then we saw how Syria and the rest got involved in it, or the kings gave their kingdom control off to the West, and they stayed as presidents and the king. Every president you see in Northern Africa is still in position in the kingdom. They paid the bribe to the Vatican. They're not there just because otherwise they would have the same destination and destiny as Syria and what we saw with the other state. You thought the spring uprising was just in 2 nations, the rest paid the bribe. What the Vatican asked, and they paid. Kings and kingdoms and presidents in other states of Northern Africa, now they pay a ransom to Vatican to stay in power. The spring uprising of the what we call North Africa will become the winter uprising in Europe with shortage of gases and energy and the prices of the food. We had refugees from these countries. How many of you have seen the Syrians and the others across past 2 decades into Europe? Now the Europeans become refugees as they find the immigrants as a point of weakness to blame for, and then themselves. And if the gas lines are not opened, the mayhem will be very deep. Keshe Foundation can produce several hundred, maybe a few thousand power supplies. But we can make your souls to become refugees in other positions, which is warm during the winter time. Immigration by the soul of the man now is an option. And then, would the other nations accept it? I'm not a dreamer, I'm a realistic, and it's the card on the table. And we have to explore every possibility. How would we accommodate the refugees who came to Europe to refuge? Now the Europeans, to lack of the energy, see them as an enemy, and then themselves running out of the energy of themselves. It will take 5 to 10 years to replace any supply from Russia and other points. Escalation in the prices will get worse. Saudis have been backwards to stop Iran to becoming part of supply for them to push the prices higher that they can control. They have befriended Qatar, who is the sharer of the Iran gas reserves in the Persian Gulf. The politics and geopolitics will play mayhem on us if we do not finish this transmutation system that you registered your soul to be in the work You register your soul to be the satellite. You will pass, you open the passage for millions of European knowledge seekers who understood the technology and take refuge in New Zealand, in Australia and America to run away from the mayhem in Europe to come. This is not the fear-mongering. This is what the foreign ministers, the ministers of the national security in France, in Germany, and some other states have already warned us in public. As one nation, one planet, one race, is our responsibility to look after our German friends. Germans have been devotedly and heavily supported this project, and the reason for it is very simple. The race is aware of the hardship to come. I hope we do not get to that point. But as a scientific organization, we should be able to transmute millions of souls out of harm. Be it the refugees who again have to move, become refugees somewhere else that no one knows where, or the Europeans who have no food, no heating, and what do they say to their children? Now you understand the importance of the test yesterday in the enhancement center. The more satellite souls register as a special soul. Do it today, not tomorrow. Do it now, not next week. I'll think about it. The faster we can bring this satellite position. We tested the satellite position through Rick's teaching a few weeks ago. Then we can transmute. We can test to bring this about. Europeans have not been refugees since the Second World War. And a lot of the rich ones are already buying their tickets to the other countries for winter holidays, away from the energy crisis which might come up in Europe and will not be there. What about the rest? We got used to Corona working from home. What do we do when the home is not heated and it's got the Corona of the energy? And if Corona hits us, the way we have seen in the past 2 years, the combination will be literally hot. So now you understand why we are doing this test. Now you understand why I'm asking you to join us today, not tomorrow. I might take up the position tomorrow or Friday and test we do it. When you make that registration, make sure you put a special case, which means your soul has chosen you to be the satellite connection. The same, the machines are in the room. The space of the room has become where the souls see each other, but the physicality is not there. We are pushed to the new dimension. And we have the technology. As I always said, mankind will accept my technology, the technology of the creation and the creator, not out of the love, but out of the demise of itself. You got to understand, if you live in different part of the world where the gas from Russia has no effect, you're responsible for the souls of those who will be affected by this. As a scientist, I will have everything in my home. I'm comfortable. Thank you very much. As a Keshe Foundation team, if it hits us, every member of the Keshe Foundation working team will receive the generator and the gas supply directly, freely from the foundation. It's our application to our team. I will not let not a single to suffer. It's the responsibility of you to decide in what is going to happen. If you're a German, if you're French, if you're a New Zealander, if you're Australian, you're a Chinese, you have to understand the time has come for man through his own mistakes to move by force to the next level of peace and understanding. We are not used to refugees from Europe, except the Jews in the Second World War. Now we have to accept this situation of economical gas refugees, which is on us, is not going to happen. 2 more gas lines into the West go dismantled. West does not have the energy to burn. It'll come to 2 points. The production of the gas units the way we're introducing will become obligatory by demand, by need. As I said, nationalize it, the technology belongs to everyone. Or we go through the transportation, we jump the physicality dimension of limitation. Those of you who understand the immensity of what is on top of us will understand we have entered the Third World War, the silent way through economical war without a bullet to be shot. You got to understand, the leadership of Russia already knew this will come when they set it up. The beauty of it is you cannot bomb Russia to open their gas because you bomb your own pipelines, the destruction will be worse. As I said, the bending of the church in Moscow is the same as Mrs. Thatcher said, women are not for bending or turning. Russia will not turn. And the screw will be tighter and tighter because the central bank of Europe in Berlin controls the assets and holds the assets of the magic. Now you understand. We need you to be part of, and that's why maybe you became knowledge seekers. Assessment of the totality, assessment of reality is what is with us. We need this to be done. We need this to be ready if it comes, when it comes, to be able to lift millions of Europeans into other destinations, even on the soul level, that they do not suffer. Exactly what Gorbachev did. Presidential, being in a point of comfort in Australia or in New Zealand or in South America or in your state is not worth the suffering of one person in Western Europe. And we have the technology, we tested technology, now you understand why everything is coming to in the right time, the right place. A war without a bullet is staged, and the economical war and the food control is the worst. Keshe Foundation, and where we all live in Austria, 20 odd of us and others, we're safe. We'll hand over the systems to our knowledge seekers to be safe, no shortage. But the biggest problem is 80% of us are immigrants in Austria. Now you can see the scale. You have seen the price rises in gas and energy supply and the fuel. and the food. But the others are playing bigger game with many people's life. I remember Dr. Elia Castor was saying, when it comes to save this planet, you have to take all the souls. He was aware of our power and what we do. She said many times, you can't leave the children behind. You have to take everything. And I said, no one will be left to suffer. The immigration of the man is not from this planet. The immigration of man's soul is from the man himself on this planet. In the next 7 days, it'll be hectic for knowledge seekers. Those of you who have offered us on a special basis to use the strength of your soul for transmutation and understanding how we can work it to create that passage. In a way, I said to the knowledge seekers who come to this point, they become like Schindler, who created the passage for the Jews, thousands of them, through fake passport. Now you do it as Schindlers through their own dimension of soul and the strength of you. I hope we don't see more hardship. I hope we see a resolution to this matter. But if not, we have to be ready. And to be sincere, I don't see a resolution because I know the time for change has come and it had to come this way. It had to come through technology, which is not on theology, but in fact of working, and for man to understand the strength of his soul and the purpose of his creation. In the next week tests in the center, you as knowledge seekers will be with us throughout the test. Those of you who go through the special registration today or tomorrow, the systems are set for transmutation. Hopefully, as our team says, they are installing it, and everything by will of the decision of the soul and understanding of the humanity is getting ready for that test, for that change. Maybe those of you who couldn't come to Austria, now you understand why you have to stay where you are, and maybe that soul is there to create that change. That change for all of us is vital, is paramount for all of us to be able to complete this process. We've seen men for centuries going from one nation as a refugee to another. Now we will see the refugees of souls. And then it depends if they want to manifest themselves and become part of the society and not refugees. This is the reality of the time and place. And it's what we can. In a way, the passing of Gorbachev could not be more timely. A man of peace, trying to keep his nation in a way away from destruction of itself, as we see now in Ukraine. But this will come to us as a humanity, as some of us with a taste of power would like to prove we have more power. In the dimension of understanding, in the dimension of the division of the fields of this planet, we have the knowledge, and in the coming weeks, as we add to it, we create this satellite position with all of you who are within the structure of the Keshe Foundation. It is your responsibility. Maybe that's why you became knowledge seekers. We'll go for a break and we come back and we answer any of your questions. But today you understood the change and you have the knowledge seekers who've been through it to see the change. And we hope we are on time to do what we want to do before mayhem hits many of us to come. As one of the knowledge seekers sent me electricity bill, and as you see in the British way, every month they're going to increase your gas prices higher and higher. By January, the choice is the heat to freeze or the food to eat, for me, for you, and for every child in the house. As an ice cream man said in Italy, last year I was paying 900, this year I'm paying 3,000. Where am I going to sell the ice cream? There is no electricity to hold it together. I cannot pay for it. Let's see if we can pay for us as a human race to bring that change. And as I said, my technology will accept it out of the fear of demise. None other is beauty. But when it does, its beauty will show itself. Rick, take us through a break and we come back and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Kesh. And this is the 448th Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. And we'll take a few minutes now for a break and be back shortly.